Local news. Sometimes it's hard to identify. Sometimes you know what it is right when you see it. But how is news gathered, crafted, and delivered? When a local TV station puts together a story that lasts a couple minutes, there is a process, but sometimes that process is more interesting than the story itself. We're going to tell you the behind-the-scenes little nuggets that don't make it to TV. We are bringing you the people on the front lines in the action in a different light. This is Jay Wallace. Welcome to KVUE Off the Airwaves. Weather in Texas is about as sporadic and random as you are going to find. One day the wind and rain's knocking you over, the next you're sweating through your shirt. But it was almost 3 years ago, in the fall of 2015, when Austin and Central Texas saw rainfall like the area has rarely seen before. Houses destroyed, streets shut down. It was dangerous for many people. And for one man in particular, he found himself literally up a creek without a paddle. This is the story of how this situation turned into a viral moment across the country and caught us at KVUE a little off guard.
Kerry Packer was involved in that flood we had earlier.
Basically, I was just driving down the road and there was a little bit, what I thought was a little bit of water, and swept my car sideways.
We have been following the rescue of a man who was stuck in a tree after floating away, driving through a low water crossing.
I jumped out of the window and climbed up a tree, so I'm about 20 feet up a tree right now.
Kerry,
Wait, you're still in the tree?
Well, joining me now is Bryan and Yvonne Nava, two anchors that I very much so enjoy working with in the mornings. And guys, we're going to take it back to 2015 today.
Way back.
Take
way
it
back.
old school,
Oh,
yeah.
man, I can't
Old
wait.
school. What do you remember, just in general, about the flood coverage when y'all were anchoring all the time, and that day, which was really long?
That was a long day, right, Bryan? It
Yeah.
felt like it went on and on and on. It was really long.
It was Halloween, right? The day before Halloween. It was
30th.
The 30th, and man, we had that rain, and that's the first time we'd heard the term training. I can remember Albert talking about
Oh, yeah.
the rain that would just start in a line and like a train chewing up the track in the same area, just get hit over and over and over, and that's what caused all that flooding that day.
Flash flooding has always been an issue for Austin. It's just the way the city is shaped. There are areas with runoff potential. So when we saw parts of this city get 11, 12, even 13 inches of rain in a short 6-hour period, people found themselves in precarious situations, including someone who called into KVUE for a live interview and caught Bryan and Yvonne a little bit by surprise. What I want to do is, I want to show you this video, and as it's playing, just kind of give me reaction, kind of talk about what you remember from this moment.
First of all, can we talk about what Bryan's jacket?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. No, this day, I remember it like it was yesterday. So, yeah, let's press play.
This is one of the days that I'll never forget.
Just showed you the video. Now we're going to speak to the people in the video. Kerry Packer was involved in that flood we had earlier with the car being filled with water. Kerry's on the phone. First of all, how are you and your husband?
Yeah.
Second of all,
So you thought it was the wife?
I thought it was the wife. Kerry, I had that wrong.
So did I. People don't really understand this, but we literally get boom. Like, you have so-and-so on the phone. They won't give you any other information. That's all we have. Kerry Packer. Also, I thought he was such a really cool character, his demeanor. He was just like, yeah, I'm in a tree, I'm just hanging out. I just love that about him. He wasn't panicked or anything. He was just so matter of fact, really polite. I remember he was very polite.
He's very polite.
And just, you know.
And hey, he's a KVUE viewer, so he's very intelligent.
There we go. He's cream of the crop, man. If he
right?
loves
I mean,
KVUE.
let's be honest. He didn't call the other stations. He called KVUE. He knew.
Yeah, I kind of felt
who
a
to
little
call.
honored, right?
Absolutely.
That was nice.
I heard he's an Yvonne Nava fan. I heard
Oh, I don't know.
great guy.
Oh, man.
And I remember we were listening, but I also remember in my head I was like asking
Trying
a bunch
to
of
think of
questions.
the next question.
Trying to think of the next question. Trying to think of, okay, what's going on.
Right.
And some things weren't as clear to me as they should have been. Maybe hour 1 of anchoring, but hour 8 I was a little hazy on what was really transpiring here.
Right.
Yeah, and the video itself was.
And then this is,
Yeah.
he dropped the bomb on y'all.
I'm about 20 feet up a tree.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
What are you okay? I mean, how's your energy? You've been there for quite some time.
No, I'm fine. I thankfully there's a nice tree here, and it's a little cold, but I did Boy Scouts for 20 years, and so I know how to keep my energy up and keep warm. So I'm doing fine.
Okay, again, tell us, are there people, do you see some help? Is there someone near where you are?
No, I mean, for as far as I can see around me, there's water. It looks like I'm in the middle of a lake. That's how bad the flooding is here. So I don't know how far I am from the road now, but I would guess about a half a mile, judging on how fast my car was being swept down.
Amazing. And your car now is?
Oh, I could see the muffler in the back bumper about 20 minutes ago, but it's completely submerged now.
Carrie, you talked to your wife. What is she saying throughout all this?
She's glad that I climbed a lot of trees when I was a kid.
He said, I climbed up in the tree.
Yeah, and I'm talking, and I looked to Bryan, and I'm thinking, wait, hold on. Did he just say he was in a tree?
And you'll have that look, like any of us would have. You'll kind of pause.
Incredulous look, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when we first got on the air, I mean, it just gradually started getting worse and worse and worse, and the adrenaline was just pumping. But it had been, I don't remember if we were on, was it 8 hours straight?
It was bizarre because you're right. A lot of people had already seen the video that we were showing. And
Look at my face. I look so like, what? I didn't know what to say.
And it was dramatic in itself. But knowing the man that shot the video, survived because it looked like he was in a dire situation.
But the weird thing is also, I don't know if y'all are familiar with Howard Stern, but you know the whole Baba Booey moments?
Yes.
I thought this was going to be a Baba Booey moment. So I turned and looked at Bryan thinking, wait, hold on, this guy might not be
Is
for
this real?
And I remember Mark Murray was in the Weather Center, and he even had that look off air, the same look that I had with you, Bryan, and you had with me.
Yeah.
You know, you want to make sure that, of course, they're safe and everything, but first and foremost, you want to make sure that the call's legit.
Well, absolutely. And the video, like I said, the water is coming into the car.
Gosh.
So the fact that we were going to talk to this person after he was safe, to me, was the story until we got the notion, or got the note from him live on TV, that he was actually still out
in
there
the most calm
in the
way
tree.
possible.
Yeah. It was
Once
bizarre.
I knew he was calm, I thought, what kind of cell service does he have? It must be incredible. Like, that's one thing that I was thinking.
No, that was
but
a great thought.
He was safe.
Nobody at the station knew. The first inclination we had that he was in the tree making the call was when he said, I climbed up the tree and here I am.
And the producer, no one was saying anything in her ear. I was looking at Bryan like, this is what? I don't think this is real. And we both were looking kind of confused. Off air, nobody at home could see, but we were kind of raising our hands up like, what's going on? We weren't getting any kind of direction. So we were just going by the genuine off-the-cuff conversation with this guy. And it seemed so hard to believe.
That's what it was, and it was such a long day to that point. This happened toward the end of our coverage that day, and we had been on the air since 4 a.m. This was probably around 10, maybe, around 6 hours in, and we definitely were both tired.
Yeah. Too bad our facial reactions just weren't as obvious. Right? I mean, we could have not been any more obvious if we were baffled by what was going on. And I think that was the big thing. Right away, I remember getting a phone call from Inside Edition, from a lot of different places. And then I had a cousin who's in the Coast Guard in Florida saying, hey, you're number one on Reddit. And I'm like, what? You can see something on Twitter or on Facebook, more so on Twitter, but it's not like boom, boom. And we were hearing it, we were seeing it. You know, we were seeing the genuine reaction. Everything was in real time, I guess. I mean, I think that was big.
Absolutely, and it's a local newscast. So all of the people that saw it as it aired live in Austin. So they knew where this area was. Some of them might have even known who the guy was.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's a local newscast just makes it, to me, more genuine in that we were talking to someone in our market. It wasn't Fox News or CNN or MSNBC talking to someone at the scene of a tragedy or flood or great event. It was us talking to someone in our neighborhood, and that, to me, made it even more genuine. If you ask, if you're talking about the actual validity and the immediacy of the story itself.
We reacted like any individual would react. I was still freaking out at just the video. That freaked me out when you saw the water all the way up to his
bad
knees.
it was.
In his
was
car.
really bad in his car. Yeah.
But you hit on a good point, and I think that's why that specific moment was so viewed over time was that it was a moment. In TV, it's kind of stuffy sometimes, but in
Sure.
an event like that where we're going on and on, and we don't have scripts, we don't have, basically what we have is what our producers tell us in our ear and what we see. And we react to both genuinely because we don't know what's coming, usually what's coming next.
Yeah.
So that was a genuine surprise for both of us.
Absolutely.
Gosh, I have never in my life imagined, hopefully they will get some help to that man as he's in a tree in southeast Travis County. Amazing.
It seemed
Because of the flood.
unbelievable when he said, "Oh, I'm still up here." Yeah, but we really hope that some help heads his way.
Moments like this don't happen every day. What propelled this into the viral stratosphere was the perfect mix of extreme weather, genuine reactions, and the magic that only broadcast TV still has. And while now it plays back almost comically, the fact remained, a man was still stranded 20 feet in the air, surrounded by floodwaters with no help in sight. So while Bryan and Yvonne were taking the call they never forget, another KVUE team member was just starting her day and was about to enter the story of the man stuck in the tree.
Well, I lived through and reported through the October 2013 floods, and those really took us by surprise because I worked till about 4 in the morning the night those floods hit.
That's Kris Betts. She's a reporter, anchor, and producer at KVUE. Watching that interview, she was just as shocked as Bryan and Yvonne and wanted to see if she could find him herself.
And I remember going and cars were floating down the street. People were stranded on their roofs. So when it started raining again and flooding the Onion Creek area in 2015, I instantly knew. I said, this is going to be bad.
What is it about that area that makes it so vulnerable?
They have a lot of creeks, the Slaughter Creek area, and you know, it's on a floodplain, but even the houses that weren't on a floodplain technically got flooded. So it's almost sort of like a bowl area, and all the creeks flow into that area. So as soon as it starts to flood, it's, 0 to 60. It was a nonstop, pretty steady rain, kind of like during Harvey, where it just kept coming. And I worked nights, so I didn't watch the morning show that day. And it was Thursday morning. I woke up. It was a Friday morning. Friday morning, I woke up. And they were replaying the Yvonne and Bryan interview with the guy stuck in the tree and Carrie. And I remember that I saw it, and I know where that is. I mean, I live in South Austin, so I thought, I know where that is. And then I texted a producer, and I said, is that guy still up in the tree? Because I hadn't heard an update. And they're like, yeah. And he's still communicating with us. I'm like, is anyone going to go to where he is? Like, no, he doesn't even know where he is. They're still trying to find him. I'm like, I'm gonna find him. But I did end up getting a hold of Carrie pretty quickly. Yeah. And I was like, dude, drop a pin and I will find you.
And so he was, you know how calm he was on air with Bryan and Yvonne? Was he pretty calm with you too?
The exact same calmness.
That's crazy.
Never once escalated his energy or like fright level or anything. Just cool as a cucumber.
And so then he dropped the pin and you headed over there. And what did it kind of look like when you first got there?
It was, well, first just trying to get to where he had gone in. He couldn't quite explain it to me. And so he's like, I went in over in this area, and he at least was able to give me a street. Well, I get over there, and Connor, by this point, had met me there, and we couldn't get in. Okay. And so it was like 4 to 5 feet of water just to try and get in. So
did he say, going back, why was he there? Why was he initially getting stuck in that area?
He was there that morning for work, and it wasn't even a low water crossing, and it was kind of dark still in the morning, and he went to go cross a road, and his car picked up, and it swept him away really fast. And it didn't have any guardrails. It was just a little kind of back road. But when he dropped the pin, we could see it was in like a wooded area. There was no actual street nearby anyways, and all the streets were flooded. So it was like, all right, this is going to be kind of like finding a needle in a haystack, and it was.
Yeah.
Well, it was flooding really badly. They sent me out by myself, actually, over in that general area.
Oh, okay.
And I was on top of a bridge over there. I don't remember which creek it was, but just seeing the debris and the rescue boats going up and down that river, and I was getting great video.
You're hearing from Dennis Thomas. He's one of our photojournalists here at KVUE.
And then I got a call from the assignments desk telling me I needed to meet Kris Betts because there was a guy stuck in a tree.
And that's all you knew? Just there was a guy
stuck in a tree. And so I was driving around. The funny part is I actually was right where the guy was when they called me because I was coming around trying to find something. So I drove around trying to find her, and then she sent me a pin in my iPhone, and then I went over there. I was like, I was just here, and I beat everybody. There was no police. There was nobody when I was there.
And I had an intern with me who's now an employee at KVUE, and it was sort of his you know.
Was that Connor?
It was Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was his, like, welcome to KVUE following Kris Betts because she will do any and everything, and she's crazy.
So I got a connection through KVUE at Kins 5 because I'm from San Antonio.
Now, this is Connor Barrick. He was a KVUE intern at the time.
So I just came in on my own time without getting paid, without getting class credit or anything, and just kind of came in and job shadowed.
That day had to be pretty crazy for you, right?
Yeah, so I actually wasn't allowed to like ride a news unit, so I had to drive my car there. Kris told me to meet her and Dennis in the middle of this field that I had to hike through by myself to get there and find them. And I'm like calling out their names, and there's an officer there, and I finally find them at this flooded road. It wasn't even like a real road. It was kind of a country road that was dirt and mud, and water was just like gushing over it. And I get there, and Dennis is like in full-on rain gear. Kris is in full-on rain gear, and I show up in my tie and button down, and I'm like, hey, guys.
Well, we couldn't see him. He couldn't see us. He couldn't see anything but water.
What time of day was this about?
This was around 11.
Okay.
And so in the meantime, my intern met up with us, and there were no authorities around. Like, there wasn't a deputy. There weren't police. No, it felt like no one was trying to find this guy because I think they had some other rescues they were dealing with. No Starflight.
There's probably plenty of so many things going on.
Yeah. They knew this guy was okay because he was texting us, so they kind of were like, "Oh, we'll find you later." So I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna find him first." So it was just us, and Connor has video from Snapchat of him in a 3-piece suit and me just hauling butt through the woods, like high-kneed, trying to get through the brush in boots and jeans and a jacket. You know, I was dressed appropriately, at least, because it's not my first rodeo. And he's chasing after me in a 3-piece suit, like, what are we doing? We're crazy. And we were crazy because we could have been bit by snakes. But that wasn't even a thought in my head.
And how long had it been since we first got in contact with him at this point about?
I want to say that happened around like 6:30 or 7 in the morning. They were wall to wall, so it wasn't our usual programming. So maybe it was closer to like 7:30. Pretty early. And I mean, this was several hours later. He was still just hanging out in the tree, but he had to climb up higher. And he was telling me I have to keep climbing up because the water is rising.
So we're trying to actually find him.
This is Dennis again.
And we're walking through some brush and trees, and there's mud everywhere. And then once we get where we can kind of hear him, we're screaming and he's yelling back at us.
And so we spent hours trying to get to him. Finally, I went back to the very beginning point, and I thought, I'm going in. I'm just going to go in the water because there's no other way I can get close to him on dry land.
Right.
So I told Connor to stay back, and my photographer, Dennis, was crazy enough to go in with me. And we went in the water, and it got knee high, waist high, chest high, shoulder high.
You're all the way in.
I'm all the way. I'm neck up out of water, and that is it. I'm holding my iPhone up, periscoping, because that was a thing back then.
Yeah.
Dennis, my photographer, who's about 6'2", he's a big guy, is holding his big, heavy camera above his head. And we're in, again, like the trenches, you know, going through the water. But I could start to hear him because I was just yelling out for him.
And so that's how far you were. You're just trying to at least hear him.
Yes.
And you're that deep in the water.
Yes. He couldn't see us still, but he was like, Carrie! And he finally was like, I can hear you! And all of a sudden, this goes back and forth for a few minutes. I'm like, we can't get any deeper into this water without swimming. I'm not thinking about the snakes, the diseases, the debris, the sticks in the water. I'm so focused at this point, after hours of looking, on finding this guy, not even for the story anymore.
That's what I was going to say. Beyond the story or what's going to be on air, just finding this guy.
I just wanted to find him because the poor guy was still stuck in a tree. He had kids. His wife was freaking out.
Sure.
So I didn't know how much longer his phone was going to last. And at that point, you know, it takes a day or two for the water to drain enough to get in.
Right.
All of a sudden, we start hearing him. And it happened so fast because as soon as we started communicating with them, Starflight showed up.
And then they showed up.
And we can see them lower the hoist with a guy on it, grab Carrie from the tree, pick him up, drop him off over on dry land. And so we run out of the water.
Yeah, run over to him.
And run over to him, and we had the very first interview with him as soon as he was on dry land.
Our cameras were the only ones rolling as a rescue diver dropped from a helicopter, dipping down to latch Packard onto a harness and lift him to safety.
Then when I saw the first 2 helicopters, I got excited. When I saw the third one, I wasn't excited anymore. But that's the one that got me.
Even as we stand here this evening, you can see there's still quite a bit of water over this road. Trucks, cars have been coming up to it, stopping and turning around, which is the correct thing to do. Once again, what started as a low water crossing car going in ended up in a water rescue that took more than 4 hours, and we were here to witness it all. We are reporting in Southeast Austin. Kris Betts, KVUE News.
I think you can show people flooding video all day, and you can show soundbite after soundbite of someone, I lost everything. But unless you get to, as human nature, unless you get to know somebody and you're invested in somebody and you care about somebody, it's hard to care about what's happening.
Right.
And that's why whenever there is some sort of big event, whether it's good or bad, we do try and focus on one person to tell you their story, because it draws you in and it makes you care.
It gives a human element.
It does. And I think viewers, I mean, because I was doing live shots the whole time, I think viewers felt like they were on this journey to try and find this guy with me. And they were excited and celebrating when I was excited and celebrating, oh my gosh, you guys, the helicopter just lifted him up. He's finally free. And we had so many people, a flood of responses, and people like, yay, because I'm sure they were glued to their phones, and it's in their neighborhood or their backyard. It's something you could follow along with. And of course we never intended it to be that way. I was just so determined to find this guy.
So what started as another day covering severe weather became a viral moment for Bryan and Yvonne, a mission for Kris, and a rescue for Carrie. But it goes without saying, if you see water on the road, turn around. Don't put your life at risk. Carrie was lucky enough to escape with only the loss of a vehicle and a few scrapes and bruises. But the better outcome would have been that we never had to cover this rescue in the first place. But when moments like this happen, quick thinking, some great tree climbing, and determination by rescue workers, reporters, and a couple of surprised anchors helped save a man's life and laid the foundation for a story that'll likely never be forgotten by everyone involved. Until next time, I'm Jay Wallace. This has been KVUE Off the Airwaves. Hey, if you like what you heard on KVUE Off the Airwaves, check out our daily newscasts. Daybreak from 4:30 to 7, midday at 11, KVUE News at 5 and 6, the night beat at 10, and anytime on KVUE.com.